I never thought Kendrick, but there's a couple other people I thought would have called my name by now that I never did. But
oh, is that what you're waiting for, the name call?
I'm waiting for it. I'm ready for it. Not waiting for it, but I'm ready for it.
Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now.
I'm not the guy, but there's a reason why they don't call my name. I'm not the guy. I'm not the one.
West Coast new phase, right? Come get this ass whooping, I'm handing them out.
I don't like confrontation, but I'm also not the guy, especially when it comes to rap.
You tell me what I shouldn't say, but fucking my it's already done.
Like, I really do this, like, as far as writing goes.
We already know why you went #1. It's clearly because of the boy. The honorable thing is to give me the loot.
And it would have to be warranted, because it would be scathing. The bars would be scathing.
Your back is up against the curb. You digging for dirt, should be digging for proof. That's how you felt in 2011 while we wasting time. Dreams come true, Crody, this is where you die.
Have you ever heard of Candyman?
In cities everywhere, they whisper his name. It's just a story, just a ghost story.
Most of y'all throw rocks and try to hide your hand. Just say his name and I promise that you'll see
Candyman. You don't have to believe, just beware.
Drinking meat meal beef might got you gassed up, but I'm a whole nother beast, I really fuck you up.
Before we continue, you can get this documentary uncut and ad-free on my Patreon at patreon.com/diverse mentality. The link is in the description below. All my documentaries are on there. It's a way better version of this documentary, uncut, a lot more content. Also, please leave a like on this video as it helps us out a lot. And if you haven't subscribed, do so because a lot of you aren't, and turn on notifications. Thank you. This battle is a classic tale of the constant competition in hip-hop culture. Hip-hop is essentially a sport, and there can only be one who wears the crown. Back in 2019, when I released my Jay-Z versus Nas video, I mentioned what would compare to that battle but in the modern era, and it's definitely Drake versus Kendrick Lamar. These two battles are similar for many reasons, the main one being in both battles they were fighting for the crown. They also sent subliminals at each other for years before the actual beef escalated to direct disses. If you're new to the Who Really Won series, I go into how the beef started, the major points in the beef, and then in the end, I give my opinion on who won the battle portion, which is in the midst of the battle while it's happening, who came out the king, and then I discuss the war portion, which is after the dust has settled, who will still remain on top. With that being said, grab a drink, grab some popcorn, and let's get into Drake versus Kendrick Lamar, who really won. Before we continue, shout out to Cook Unity for sponsoring today's video. Cook Unity is a chef-to-table platform that delivers freshly prepared, restaurant-quality meals directly to your door. They partner with over 90 chefs from top restaurants across the US to bring their signature dishes to your table every week. And the variety is amazing. I mean, whatever you are into in terms of food, whether you're vegan, whether you're paleo, whatever it is, they have it, and they have endless choices. And my favorite one that I got was the creamy Marry Me chicken with buttered rice and roasted asparagus by Arthi Sampath. I hope I pronounced her name right because she is a legend. This was so delicious. I actually want to marry this woman. That's how good it is. So it lives up to the name, and I was genuinely surprised at how good it was, because a lot of these times when you heat up meals, it just seems like it doesn't taste as good as like restaurant quality or completely fresh, but this tasted as fresh as ever. On top of that, not expensive at all. Super cheap, way cheaper than actually going shopping. And of course, it saves me a lot of time. I don't have to think about what my next meal is going to be. It's already there. And on top of that, I don't have to cook anything. And to me, saving time is obviously a huge thing because I got millions of things to do. And Cook Unity is showing us a lot of love. They're offering you guys 50% off the first order. All you got to do is click the link in the description below and use my coupon code EKKOQ1 to get 50% off your first order. That's right, click the link in the description below right now and you get your first order 50% off from chef-made meals delivered fresh to your door using my coupon code EKKOQ1. Thank you guys for watching, and let's continue the video. The new era of hip-hop was coming in the late 2000s with a slew of new artists getting ready to take over. Drake was a fresh-faced Canadian actor who wanted to make his stamp in the hip-hop world, but was so polar opposite of what hip-hop was at that time. Even the person who took interest in signing him, Lil Wayne, was so different from what Drake was that it just didn't seem to make sense. But despite that, Drake carved his own lane when he released his mixtape So Far Gone in February of 2009, launching his career with the huge commercial success of Best I Ever Had. Around the same time in 2009, there was a Compton kid who went at that time by the name of K-Dot, who was also releasing his mixtapes, and in January of 2009, he released a mixtape titled C4, which ironically was heavily inspired by Lil Wayne's Carter 3 album. The reason this is ironic is because Kendrick Lamar was really inspired by Lil Wayne, so much so he dedicated a whole mixtape to him and even sounded like him on almost every track. But the person that was getting Lil Wayne's attention was a Canadian actor who sings and raps. This could have been the start of Kendrick Lamar's disdain towards Drake. Kendrick Lamar could have felt like Drake shouldn't have gotten the cosign from Lil Wayne because Drake wasn't from hip-hop culture. He was an outsider, and this isn't far-fetched. On top of that, Kendrick Lamar released a track titled Determined, in which he mentions his girl liking Drake's music over his at the time. Plus, when Kendrick appeared on Drake's Take Care album for Buried Alive, on that track he even mentions at how surprised he was that Drake was the same age as him but at a bigger level than him. It made him impatient for his time to come to be the star.
She listening to Drake, and all I can say, damn, these that much better than me, baby.
Despite that though, the two would end up working together as each artist started developing their own career paths. By the time 2011 rolled around, Drake was a household name with his debut album Thank Me Later, which was a huge commercial success. Kendrick Lamar found his own lane with his mixtape released in 2010 titled Overly Dedicated. Although he wasn't in the mainstream yet, critics raved over this mixtape, and Kendrick had found his home with the label Top Dog Entertainment. In 2011 is when Drake would take notice of Kendrick Lamar's rising stardom. XXL featured Kendrick Lamar in their 2011 freshman list, and Kendrick was gearing up to finally release his debut album, Section 80, and the first single, High Power, was released on April 12th, 2011, making waves all over the hip-hop world. Kendrick then was going on tour to promote his upcoming album and stopped by Drake's hometown of Toronto on June 16th, 2011 for the first time ever.
T-Dot, make some motherfucking noise for yourself. Turn the lights on, turn the lights on. I need to see every individual in this motherfucker. I need y'all to know, this is my first motherfucking time out here, you dig? On my birthday, it's a blessing to be here in front of y'all, you hear me?
Kendrick says Drake reached out to him to hang out with him after his concert that night. Kendrick let him hear his album Section 80, and Drake loved it. They hung out that whole night discussing working together and the music industry in general.
I sat down with Drake in Toronto a while back when I did my first show out there. He called me up, man, we had a few drinks, and he always said he was appreciative of my music. I've always been a fan of his music, and we've just been chopping it up since.
Following that, on July 2nd, 2011, Kendrick Lamar dropped his debut album Section 80 with great praise. The reception from that project prompted Drake to reach out to get Kendrick Lamar on his album, Take Care, and he even invited him to go on tour. On August 19th, 2011, Kendrick Lamar gets handed the crown as the new West Coast savior from legends like Snoop Dogg, The Game, and Corrupt. And this is all before he drops his major debut album.
We watching you rock like a motherfucker. And we watching Game pass the torch to you. We watching all this love. It's a beautiful thing, my nigga. You great at what you do. You ain't good at what you do. You great at what you do. And the people out here, they represent it, and they showing you that. So, I'ma say this and I'ma mean this. You got the torch, you better run with that.
On November 17, 2011, Drake dropped his second album, Take Care, and on track 7, Kendrick Lamar appears on Buried Alive Interlude, where he raps about meeting Drake for the first time.
Then he said that he was the same age as myself, and it didn't help because it made me even more rude and impatient. So blame it on Mr. OVOXO.
Although this wasn't the first official collab with both artists on the same track, it was a great sample of what was to come. Then on December 13th, 2011, Drake announced the Club Paradise Tour with special guests Kendrick Lamar and A$AP Rocky. On this tour is where Drake feels like he ushered in the new generation of hip-hop. He revealed on a 2016 track, 4 p.m. in Calabasas, that the record label didn't want Kendrick Lamar or A$AP Rocky on tour with him, but Drake stood firm on bringing them.
When he told me take an R&B on the road, and I told him no and drew for Kendrick and Rocky.
This is my brother A$AP Rocky. This is my brother Kendrick Lamar. This is my brother Chasing Cash. We all ask you just one favor. Y'all keep working on being the beautiful people that you are, and we're gonna keep giving you this music that you love so much.
Kendrick Lamar, while on tour with Drake, was doing interviews and thanked Drake for bringing him on tour and introducing him to a new audience.
Drake's a real good dude, first and foremost. You know, he heard my music probably a year back, reached out and just gave me respect on it. You know what I'm saying? So it was a mutual feeling for us appreciating the music. I put out Section 80. A couple months later, like, yo, I need you on this tour. You know, it'll be a pleasure, be an honor. I was like, that's dope, man. So, you know what I mean? I can't back down from that, you know, to expand my music to a crowd that haven't heard it before. I know it's 15,000 people out there. I'm used to 2,000. I'm finna work. I'm finna get at least 100 of these folks, you know, to understand what Kendrick Lamar was, man.
With them being on tour, of course, they ended up working on music together, and Drake graced the cover of XXL magazine in September of 2013. And in the outtakes from that interview, he revealed he initially made A$AP Rocky's song, Fucking Problems, for himself with 2 Chainz. Then he intended the song to go to Kendrick Lamar for his debut album, but then it ultimately ended up on A$AP Rocky's album. The XXL interviewer asked, your collaboration and features seem to really put you over the top this past year. How do you approach working with other artists? Drake then said A$AP Rocky's Fucking Problem came from a song me and 2 Chainz had done. He said in his verse, it was really slow too. I love bad bitches too, that's a fucking problem. I stopped his verse while we were listening to it and I said, yo, that needs to be a hook. I don't know how we're going to explain this to him that we chopped a piece of his verse to do the hook. We were working on the Aaliyah project at the time and we had this vocal sample that we were playing with, which we ended up having someone re-sing and in a different melody. We ended up with Fucking Problems. While most people would be like, oh, we're going to save this for 6-7 months until my album comes out. For me, it's, well, I'm going to give this song to someone who is popping now. We're all on tour now. It's a big record. It needs to come out in the next 2 months. I made that personal decision. It was actually Kendrick's record first. He had asked me to get on Poetic Justice, and again, I was like, oh, Poetic Justice. It's a great song, but it's a typical song, you know. I'm going to be on the Soft Girl song on the album. So it was like, let me give you some shit. But Kendrick's album was such a concise, conceptual record with incredible skits, but I understood why Fucking Problems didn't fit. The next project I had to work on was A$AP's album, and that's another genuine friend of mine, as is Kendrick. He's a good person. He took the record and it went #1. Sure, I sacrificed the record. Maybe they'll think I'm crazy for it. Like when I gave Khaled I'm On One and No New Friends. A lot of people think I'm crazy for that too, but it's like what you saw at the BET Awards. I'm very present in the rap game, even when I'm working on an album. And this story from Drake checks out because as the years went on, the original version, which was Kendrick Lamar's song, leaked with Kendrick having 2 verses on it. The funny thing is, A$AP Rocky hasn't had a bigger song as a lead artist than Fucking Problems for his entire career to this date. It's crazy to think a Drake throwaway song was another artist's biggest hit of their career. Fucking Problems was officially released on October 18, 2012, and this marked the first collab between Drake and Kendrick Lamar on a track together. Then just a week later, on October 22nd, 2012, Kendrick Lamar drops his first major album debut, Good Kid, Mad City, and on track 6, Poetic Justice, it featured Drake. The reception to their collab was very well received and their relationship was cordial, but all that changed in 2013. In the wee morning of March 7th, 2013, MTV announced their top 10 hottest MCs in the game list. Drake landed at number 5 on that list, and Kendrick Lamar was crowned as the hottest MC at number 1 on the list. That same day, at night, Drake drops a new track titled 5 a.m. in Toronto and responds to MTV's list.
This year, I made Forbes list, your list, everything's looking gorgeous.
This, at the time, was the most aggressive Drake song we have heard. This shocked a lot of people because they weren't used to Drake being this aggressive on a track. And nothing makes this clearer than this article posted by Hip Hop Sports Report saying, with a Best Rap Album Grammy in his back pocket and given the success of his latest single Started From the Bottom, coupled with the aggression he shows on this record, Drake seems to be out for blood in 2013. Is this a diss record, or is he simply putting the game on notice that his influence is essentially unmatched? And there you have it. It was a clear message to the media and his peers that he felt he was the best out right now. Funny enough, Kendrick Lamar got interviewed about being number 1 on the list, and he wasn't bothered by other artists being bothered by it. In fact, he felt artists should feel they are better.
And I'm trying to compete with everybody, to be the best. And that's how I feel, everybody else should think about it, So when people feel like they need to make their comments, I feel that's needed. You're supposed to feel like you're the best, because if you don't, you're going to get stepped on, because there's a jungle out there. You feel me?
Somewhere in between this time, while Drake is recording his upcoming album Nothing Was the Same, he and his producer 40 are working on a beat, and Drake suggests Kendrick Lamar to get on the beat with him. This beat ultimately ended up with Action Bronson for his track titled Acting Crazy in 2015. And this footage comes from Drake's 100 gigs drop, in which he released 100 gigs worth of files in 2024.
And it's like
just enough every time.
For him, where he's at, that's like I know he's gonna murder that shit. I know he is. Yo, can you grab that for me, Husher? Please.
But when he told me Kendrick, it just made so much sense. Oh, what was this brilliance? Oh, it's so good. So excited to hear that record.
And what that footage shows me is Drake still had love for Kendrick Lamar and felt like going bar for bar with him on that beat. I'm really upset this never happened, because that beat with Drake and Kendrick Lamar on it would have been an insane track to have on Nothing Was the Same. We were robbed of greatness, sadly. After Drake's powerful stance on 5 a.m. in Toronto, a few months passed, and on August 12, 2013, Funkmaster Flex premieres a new Big Sean track titled Control, featuring Jay Electronica and Kendrick Lamar. The part that got everyone talking was Kendrick Lamar's verse. In his verse, he calls out every one of his peers and makes it clear that he is the best and the king of the new generation.
I'm usually homeboys with the same I'm rhyming with, but this is hip hop and them should know what time it is. And that goes for Jamaica, Big Crit Wale, Pusha T, Meek Mills, A$AP Rocky, Drake, Big Sean, Jay Electron, Tyler McMillan. I got love for you all, but I'm trying to murder you. Trying to make sure your core fans never heard of you. They don't want to hear not one more noun or verb from you.
This verse sets ablaze all of the hip-hop world, with artists who weren't even mentioned on the track responding to him. However, it took Drake weeks to respond. On August 30th, 2013, Drake sat down to do an interview with Billboard as he was doing a press run for his upcoming album Nothing Was the Same, and finally addressed Kendrick Lamar's verse on Control. In the interview, he said, "I didn't really have anything to say about it. It just sounded like an ambitious thought to me. That's all it was. I know good and well that Kendrick's not murdering me at all in any platform. So when that day presents itself, I guess we can revisit the topic." And Kendrick Lamar was overseas performing in the UK when the Control verse dropped, so he couldn't fully understand the response the verse got until he finally came back to America. He got asked what he thought about the responses, and he didn't have an issue with anyone's response, and simply said he intended for the verse to inspire his competition to be more lyrical.
It's all love from the moment I did the verse to after the verse. You know what I mean? I think hip-hop is a sport, so you're going to have these little spits and spats. And it's all good because, personally, I respect these dudes as, you know, as people. You know what I mean? So, outside of that, it's really nothing.
Specifically, where are you at, like, with the J. Cole? Specifically, where are you at with a Drake or so on and so forth?
I respect their music.
Like that.
For sure. I respect them as individuals and creators. And I think what the media tried to do is insane, because they take these black, young brothers and really try to clash it and make bump heads, and that's not right. That's how I look at it. I think it's not right.
A few weeks after the Control verse came out, on August 25th, 2013, Drake and Kendrick Lamar both attended the MTV Video Music Awards. And Drake says he ran into Kendrick at the award show and says Kendrick showed nothing but love. So Drake felt like he didn't really mean anything by the verse and that he just wanted attention.
I see Kendrick tomorrow, I'm gonna dap him. I didn't feel the way about that verse. I get it. I get the moment. He's a good guy. I know that verse had no malice behind it, because I saw him 5 days later at the VMAs and it was all love. So it's like, he didn't come on there on some wild, I'm in New York, everybody don't look at me. I'm the king. So it was one of those things. It's like, I almost wish he had come in there on that shit, because I kind of lost a little respect for the sentiment of the verse. If it's really fuck everybody, then it needs to be fuck everybody. It just can't be halfway for the sake of the people. But you know what I'm saying? For real, that's just how I feel.
Then in the month of September 2013, Drake was on a huge promo run for his album Nothing Was the Same. He graced the cover of XXL magazine titled Watch the Throne, and in the excerpt from the interview, it seems like Drake is wanting someone to go at him. The interviewer says, "You are very competitive." Drake says, "I had a rapper accuse me of being too competitive and ruining it for other people." The interviewer says, "Was he serious?" Drake said, "Dead serious." Interviewer, "How did you hear about it?" Drake said, "Word of mouth. I studied you. What do you mean? This is why we're here. This is what it's about. If you were me, would you be a pushover like, oh, I'm not going to go that hard because I know we're all trying to do the same thing and achieve the same goal? It's like, man, get the fuck out of here." The interviewer then says, "Never heard of a rapper being too competitive." Drake says, "That was the whole gist of the comment. You don't have to go that hard. You're making it really hard for..." It's like, what? Hey man, that's a compliment in itself for someone to say it out loud. The interviewer said, "Was this a veteran artist?" Drake said, "I don't even want to tell you. If I'd answered that, you would know the answer right away." The interviewer says, "Is it important to be perceived as the top guy by your peers?" Drake says, "Nah, I don't need acknowledgement. I just need silent understanding. I don't want acknowledgement. That's unfair. I don't expect someone to come over and be like, congrats for being the top guy." And just based off this excerpt, in my opinion, it seems like Drake knows there are a lot of people gunning for the top spot and that his competition knows that Drake holds that top spot. And around this time is when Kendrick Lamar was coming up. He was the new guy that was dominating. His Good Kid, Mad City album was received very well. On top of that, he got the #1 spot for MTV's Hottest MCs. So this could have been a little slight jab towards Kendrick, notifying him that, hey, I'm the top guy. I'm going to dominate and nobody's going to move me out the way. And nothing says that better than releasing more aggressive music. And that's what happens when Drake finally released his new album, Nothing Was the Same, on September 24th, 2013. On track 10, The Language, people speculated that he was sending subliminals at Kendrick Lamar.
I don't know why they been lying, but your shit not that inspiring. Fuck any that's talking that shit just to get a reaction. I am the kid with the motor mouth. I am the one you should worry about.
Drake and even Birdman ultimately denied that these were disses towards anyone and just said they were talking that confident rapper talk. While Drake's promo for the album continued, he was essentially asked about Kendrick Lamar's verse in every interview until finally one day he snapped. On September 26th, 2013, Drake stopped by ESPN to do various interviews. He appeared on a show called Sports Nation with hosts Marcellus Wiley and Max Kellerman. Drake, according to Marcellus, disrespected Kendrick Lamar so bad in the interview that Drake and his team decided to not have the interview air on Sports Nation. They even threatened ESPN by saying if they air the interview, Drake will not be hosting ESPN's award show, the ESPYs, in 2014. Well, that's what happened, and the only reason we have heard about it is because of Marcellus Wiley speaking on it years later.
Drake is doing our show, Max Kellerman, myself, Sports Nation. Now, we always did our show live. That day, I don't know why, we had to tape it. And it turned into him going at Kendrick Lamar. And really going at Kendrick Lamar, saying, man, come on, man, I'm me and he's him. And all like, he just sunning him. And he just kept talking trash about Kendrick. He was saying basically him, Kendrick here, stop comparing me to the guy. Interview over, 10, 15 minutes, I don't know. 12:45, another meeting. Yeah, Drake's people called and said, we shouldn't air that. Are you guys sure everything was fine? It's like, everything's good. Actually, it's great. He went in on somebody that's gonna give us huge boost ratings, people gonna watch, etc. 1 o'clock, They was like, we're not airing the interview. Drake just called again. He said, if we air that interview, he's not hosting the ESPYs.
Of course, I'm sure this word got out to Kendrick Lamar. With Drake speaking on his Control verse in every interview, it was only a matter of time before Kendrick said something to Drake. Fast forward, on October 15th, 2013, the BET Hip Hop Awards happened, and on the BET Cypher, there was the TDE crew. Kendrick Lamar spit a freestyle during the cypher, and it was a clear shot at Drake.
Yeah, and nothing been the same since they dropped Control and tucked the sense of the rapper back in his pajama clothes. Ha ha, jokes on you, high five. I'm bulletproof, your shots will never penetrate. Pin a tail on a donkey, boy, you been a fake. I got my thumb on hip-hop and my foot in the back of your ass. Aftermath, get the last laugh.
Following that, on November 2013, Kendrick Lamar lands on the cover of GQ magazine and discusses his relationship with Drake. The GQ interviewer walked around with Kendrick Lamar during the 2013 MTV VMAs and saw him and Drake show love to each other backstage. The interviewer said, I asked if this meant things were cool between him and Drake. He paused. He said, pretty cool, and I mean, I would be okay if we weren't. Fast forward to December 2013, and Drake lands the cover of Vibe magazine. And on this cover, he not only addresses Kendrick Lamar's BET cypher, but also mentions why he was bothered by the Control verse. I don't ever want to get into responses. It's a commitment to go there. The language is just energy. What it was inspired by, I'm sure that, and other things. It's just me talking my shit. I never once felt the need to respond to that record. The sentiment he was putting forth is what he should have. Of course you want to be the best. Where it became an issue is that I was rolling out an album while that verse was still bubbling. So my album rollout became about this thing. What am I supposed to say? Nah, we'll be buddy-buddy. Mind you, I never once said he's a bad guy or I don't like him. I think he's a fucking genius in his own right, but I also stood my ground as I should. And with that came another step, which then I have to realize I'm being baited, and I'm not gonna fall. Jordan doesn't have to play pickup to prove that he could play ball. No offense, but I'm not gonna give you the chance to shake me necessarily because I feel great. There's no real issue. It's tough because the people want to see us tear each other down. I don't want to give them that. There's no point. I have no ill feelings towards that guy. It's just like, it's there for me if I want to fall for it. I'm just too smart for that. Hopefully it's the last time I gotta talk about this, because every time I open my mouth up about it, they take this piece and take this piece, and he's hungry. So he's going to do what he has to do, like the BET cypher. But again, it's not enough for me to go. We haven't seen each other since the BET cypher, but I'm sure we'll see each other and it'll be cool. And if it's not, then I guess that's how our story unfolds. After this, on December 17th, 2013, DJ Esco drops the official remix to Future's Shit Track, and Drake subliminally responds to Kendrick Lamar's diss during the BET cypher, and even sons Kendrick Lamar and says he's the one that brought him into the game.
I hear you talk about your city like you run there, and I brought my tour to your city, you my son there.
Funny enough, TDE owners Top Dawg and Punch both responded to Drake's verse on Future's Shit Track, which clearly shows Kendrick Lamar and his team got the message. Top Dawg said, if this is the best shit guys got, I feel sorry for them, laugh my ass off. He also said, the kid made rap fun again. Everybody should thank him. Punch said, ha 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 ha, that's it, really? Ultimately, despite the responses from Drake's verse, nothing happened after this for a while. In 2014, it was clear Kendrick Lamar was focused on his upcoming album To Pimp a Butterfly, because on September 23rd, 2014, he released the first single off the album, titled I. Then on October 29th, 2014, J-Rock releases a song titled Pay For It, featuring his label mate Kendrick Lamar, and people speculate Kendrick is responding to Drake's The Language track on his verse.
I tell him all the hell, King Kendrick, resurrecting my vengeance, been dissecting your motor mouth till I break down the engine.
After the release of that track, Kendrick Lamar went on a little promo run for his new single I, and during that run, he got asked frequently about Drake and if they would ever battle. Charlemagne from The Breakfast Club and DJ Who Kid both asked about potentially battling Drake. Kendrick also denied that J-Rock Pay For It verse was a response to Drake, and this would be a common thing among both artists after 2013. They would constantly deny subliminals and act like they're friends.
Now people think your verse on J-Rock's Pay For It is that you're throwing more shots at Drake. Any truth to that?
Yeah, I think that's crazy.
People need to leave that, let that go, man.
Have y'all seen each other? Have y'all spoke at all?
Oh my goodness, yeah, we spoke.
I saw you retweeted when Tiger wrote that Drake was fake.
No, I didn't. I didn't tweet that. No, I didn't. That's some inner issues. I don't deal with nobody else's business or problems. I stay to myself.
But y'all spoke, y'all squashed it, everything good?
Yeah, it wasn't no issue from the jump. You know, when I think people talk about beef, it's just a whole nother dynamic. I can't see myself going bar for bar with Drake. You know, we're two different type of artists. You dig what I'm
You
saying?
would eat Drake. I've argued that in many a circle. Okay.
The way it's currently going,
yeah.
Especially when people hear people with the hits and all that,
yeah.
They look at you and Drake. So
Yeah.
that's why I would always assume that would Drake be somebody you would like to have some fun with?
Nah, I couldn't. We come from two different worlds, two different backgrounds. I really don't see that playing out, you know, as entertaining. Maybe to, you know, the people listening, you know, but not for myself, for sure.
As 2015 rolls around, things got more interesting. On February 13, 2015, Drake drops his new mixtape, If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, and features some tracks people thought were shots at Kendrick Lamar, like track 2, Energy, track 11, Used To, and track 17, 6 p.m. in New York.
Still try me over. I got rap that I gotta act like I like, but my acting days are over. Them niggas for life. They gon' say your name on them airwaves. They gon' hit you up right after like it's only rap. I wanna prove that I'm number one over all these. Being number two is just being the first to lose.
When this mixtape from Drake came out, no one had the slightest idea that some tracks were co-written by a guy named Quentin Miller. We found out about this information months later in the summer of 2015 when Meek Mill revealed that Drake had a ghostwriter for the mixtape, and even some reference tracks leaked. Kendrick Lamar, on the other hand, just 1 month later drops his second major label album, To Pimp a Butterfly, and on track 3, King Kunta, he mentions rappers having ghostwriters, which had fans speculating that Kendrick Lamar probably knew ahead of time that Drake had some writing help on If You're Reading This, It's Too Late.
I can dig rapping, but a rapper with a ghostwriter. What the fuck happened? Swore I wouldn't tell, but most of y'all sharing bars like you got the bottom bunk in a two-man sale.
He addresses those lines in an interview with Rob Markman on MTV, but he doesn't name who he is talking about. Fast forward on June 25th, 2015.
Who you seen with a ghostwriter? Can we talk about that?
Oh, no, I can't say who I seen with a ghostwriter, but
I knew you wasn't going to answer that, but
nah,
I was like...
yeah.
Gotcha.
We got to stand behind that pen and honor your pen because growth is everything.
Right.
When Kendrick Lamar revealed the artwork and album title on his Instagram, in the caption he said, "Don't all dogs go to heaven, don't gangsters boogie, do owls shit stink, lions, tigers, and bears, but to pimp a butterfly, it's the American dream." This was perceived as a response to Drake, because on the track No Tellin' from If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, which came out only 1 month earlier than Kendrick's album, Drake says this.
Please do not speak to me like I'm that Drake from 4 years ago. Thinking they lions and tigers and bears, I go hunt and put heads on my fireplace. Oh.
Drake here is saying he's the top guy in hip-hop and will hunt down any rapper and have their heads mounted as trophies. Ironically, 4 years ago was when he helped Kendrick Lamar go on tour with him. Kendrick Lamar in his caption is downplaying what Drake said on that track and even threw in owls, which is Drake's whole branding with his label October's Very Own. Fast forward, and on June 25th, 2015, Drake hears those subliminals on Kendrick's King Kunta track and collabs with Compton legend The Game on a track titled 100. This was another clear shot at Kendrick Lamar because Drake even went to Compton to shoot the video with Game, further pushing the envelope on Drake being the king of Kendrick City.
I would have all of your fans if I didn't go poppin'. I stayed on some conscious shit.
Then a little over a month later, on August 7, 2015, Dr. Dre drops his Compton album. And on track 6, Dark Side / Gone, and on track 9, Deep Water, Kendrick Lamar responds to Drake's Subliminals on Game's 100 track. This time, sounding like he wants to go to war right then and there.
You scared of my heights now, but still I got enemies giving me energy, I wanna fight now. Subliminal sending me all of this hate, I thought I was holding the mic down. They liable to bury him, they nominated 6 to carry him. They worry him to death, but he no vegetarian. The beef is on his breath.
Then we enter in 2016, and right off the jump, the Drake versus Kendrick Lamar debate gets asked again, and this time to the most powerful person in the United States, Mr. President Barack Obama.
If Drake and Kendrick Lamar got in a rap battle, who do you think would win?
Got to go with Kendrick. I'm just saying, I think Drake is an outstanding entertainer, but Kendrick, his lyrics, his last album was outstanding.
Excellent, all right.
Best album, I think, last year.
With Barack Obama siding with Kendrick on the battle, Drake had to respond, and on January 30th, 2016, he released a track titled Summer 16, in which he responded to not only Barack Obama, but his whole hip-hop peers, making it clear that 2016 would be his year, and he wasn't wrong.
Tell
Drake dominated all of 2016. He released his new album Views in April, which sold 1 million copies the first week, got his first ever #1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 as a lead artist with One Dance, and that whole year was just about him. Following that album release, he also appeared on a DJ Khaled single titled For Free, where he references a Kendrick Lamar line on a Mike Will Made It track released in 2014 titled By the World.
Go tell your mama this dick ain't for free. This dick ain't for free.
Really going on.
This dick ain't free.
And like your boy from Compton said, you know this dick ain't free.
And the fans speculated that Drake didn't really give a shout out to Kendrick because he didn't mention him by name and simply called him your man. Basically, you call someone that when you don't want to associate with them for doing something foul. Like an example would be, hey, get your mans over there. And fans thought it was interesting he didn't give the proper respect to mention Kendrick's name. Fast forward to 2017 and Drake continues his momentum. On March 18, 2017, he released a compilation album titled More Life. And on track 9, Galchester, fans speculate he sends some subliminals at Kendrick.
I know I said top 5, but I'm top 2 and I'm not 2.
Then just a few days later, on March 23rd, 2017, Kendrick Lamar drops The Heart Part 4. And on this track, it seemed like Kendrick Lamar badly wanted to go directly at Drake, but waited for him to set things off.
Fans can't wait for me to sun your punk and crush your whole little shit. How big pun your punk? You a scared little.
The interesting thing about this track too is, according to Peter Rosenberg from Hot 97, he said Top from TDE confirmed that Kendrick Lamar recorded the song just a few days after More Life was released. This could have been a way of Kendrick Lamar putting out the Drake flames and reminding people that he is the best one out. However, people were also speculating that Kendrick Lamar was sending subliminals at multiple artists, including Big Sean and Jay Electronica. These rumors would be confirmed true later.
Because here's what I'll tell you what I know about the song. Here's the only thing that I can say that I learned about the song.
What?
It's not on the album.
Nope.
Okay.
And he just had the idea for this like 2 days ago. Like this just happened. This song.
Oh.
This song was just like a yo, go. So do you think that it's possible this last weekend
With all the Drake
with all
acclaim,
yes,
that he's just like, you know what? Nah.
Let me just remind everyone what time it is.
On April 14, 2017, Kendrick Lamar drops his new album, Damn, which turns out to be his most successful commercial album to date, selling over 600,000 copies the first week. On track 4, Element, people felt Kendrick Lamar was dissing and reclaiming the throne in hip-hop. The people that speculated this would later turn out to be right. Years later, on September 7, 2023, the original version of Element leaked online. This version uses the beat and hook from track 7, Paramedic, off the Black Panther soundtrack. On the original version of Element, he sends direct shots at Drake, French Montana, Big Sean, and Jay Electronica. The only reason this version leaked was because somebody secretly recorded it in the studio. J-Rock and Big Sean both confirmed this leak as being real and not AI. Besides, in 2017, there was no AI music.
Subliminals, I put you on that roll call. French Montana speaking on me in interviews. Very cynical, dry hating something I don't approve. Jay Electronica through silences on my Grammy night. Another dead prophet, hoping the God to give him life. Big Sean keep sneak dissing, I let it slide. I think it's false confidence got him inspired. I can't make them respect you, baby, it's not my job. You're finally famous for who you date, not how you rhyme, boy. Cute raps, get your puberty up. Then make you a classic album before you come at us. Drake and McMill beef might got you gassed up. But I'm a whole nother beast, I really you up.
That leak wasn't known at the time though, so on April 30th, 2017, Drake praised Kendrick Lamar's Damn sales and even liked a fan commenting for him, Kendrick, and Cole to get on one track together. Fast forward, on May 23rd, 2017, Kendrick Lamar hops on Future's Mask Off remix and sends subliminal shots at Drake.
Plan them. Gotta look at yourself and ask what happened. How y'all let a conscious go commercial while only making conscious albums?
After that, nothing else came about that year from each artist. Kendrick Lamar had dominated 2017, just like Drake did the previous year, which further ignited the conversation of who is the king of hip-hop. Fast forward to 2018, and on January 4th, the single All the Stars with Kendrick Lamar and SZA drops. Kendrick Lamar, in his verse, sounds like he rejects Drake's attempt to congratulate him on his recent success.
You ain't know your expectations. I don't even want your congratulations.
After that, this would be the last time we would hear from Kendrick Lamar. He would end up taking a long hiatus from music, leaving the lane open for Drake to dominate. Drake, just a few weeks later, would respond to Kendrick Lamar on All the Stars with his own release on January 20th, titled Diplomatic Immunity.
You try to compare us, but like a job straight out of high school, there's no you and I taught you everything you know, now you got student pride.
Then 2018 would be another year Drake dominated, but would have another beef, this time with Pusha T and Kanye West. Then Drake dropped his new album Scorpion on June 29th, and on track 10, Sandra's Rose, he sent more subliminals at Kendrick.
Bury me and I'll be born again. I walk in godly form amongst the mortal men.
Following this, both Drake and Kendrick Lamar pretty much chilled. Very little music came from Drake in 2019, and Kendrick Lamar was still on a hiatus. On December 25th, 2019, Drake does an interview with the Rap Radar podcast and talks about what to expect from him in the new decade, going from 2020 to 2030. He then mentions Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole as his biggest competition, but also gives them both praise for keeping him hungry to be at the top still.
I have a lot of respect for, the other two guys that I'm constantly, up against, which is like Cole and Kendrick.
Three-headed monster.
Yeah. So I have a lot of respect for those guys because they also continue to, stay true to what we started with, and finding new ways to do it. And I'm excited that the decade's about to turn and we're gonna see who can go that extra stretch, because it is really, I think for all three of us, it is the time to see who can transcend the generations, much like Jay did, or much like Wayne did after the Hot Boys days, going into like Show Me What You Got freestyle when he just completely switched up and was like,
Absolutely.
I think that year is coming up for all three of us.
Fast forward to 2020, and Drake drops a mixtape titled Dark Lane Demo Tapes with no subliminals aimed towards Kendrick. Meanwhile, Kendrick Lamar is still nowhere to be found. Fast forward to 2021, and on May 23rd, Billboard gives Drake Artist of the Decade Award. The Billboard Awards goes by numbers and how much you dominated throughout the years, and Drake proved that from 2010 till 2020.
I want to dedicate this award to my friends. I want to dedicate this award to my longtime collaborators. I want to dedicate this award to all my peers. All of your decisions and the music you make really does have me tossing and turning at night trying to figure out what I should do next, so thank you.
The interesting thing about this moment is Nav Josh, who runs the huge hip-hop blog Hip Hop and More, posted a tweet of the Billboard moment, and Kendrick Lamar liked the tweet, which had a lot of people questioning it because Kendrick is never active on social media. People speculated maybe he was congratulating Drake or could have been upset with the decision. We found out later in the year how he truly felt. On August 27, 2021, Kendrick Lamar finally came out of his slumber and hopped on Baby Keem's single, Family Ties, and sends clear subliminals at anyone that thought they took the crown from him. The verse had everyone talking about who Kendrick Lamar is going at, and most people were aiming it at Drake.
Nobody safe when I come, I'm killing everybody that's outside. Who you with? Yeah, Kanye changed his life, but me, I'm still an old school Gemini. Smoking on top fives. Stop playing, I'm that guy.
Drake, of course, hears the rumblings and drops his new album Certified Lover Boy on September 3rd, 2021, and on track 12, No Friends in the Industry, he sends subliminals at Kendrick.
Yeah, I heard some people say they know him as my equal. Truth be told, us son, these niggas, girl, I don't compete with them. For debating who to go, then I make the shit about the numbers all I...
Fast forward on May 6, 2022, Drake jumps on Jack Harlow's Churchill Downs track and addresses many issues he has with people in the music industry. He foreshadows artists coming together to take him down.
Lucky me, people that don't fuck with me are linking up with people that don't fuck with me to fuck with me. This shit is getting ugly.
Then just a few weeks later, Kendrick Lamar returned to the spotlight on May 13, 2022, and dropped his new album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. On track 5, Father Time, he reflects on how Drake and Kanye entered their feud, and then on track 7, Rich Spirit, he sends more warning shots.
When Kanye got back with Drake, I was slightly confused. Guess I'm not mature as I think. Got some healing to do. Celebrity do not mean integrity, you fool. Stop playing with me before I turn you to a song. Stop playing with me before I turn you to a song.
Months went by and Kendrick Lamar started his tour. And on August 13th, Drake attended the show in his hometown of Toronto. Many people were questioning if Drake attended just to get the media's attention or to potentially talk with Kendrick Lamar and end whatever feud they had going on, but nothing came from it. Fast forward to 2023, and Drake's radio station Sound 42 on April 7th previews a collab with Lil Uzi Vert titled At the Gates, and Drake's verse sends subliminals at Kendrick Lamar.
Fake woke, fake deep. You ain't no fame before me. Gave your ass a little sneak peek, yeah. Now you gotta take a back seat.
Then on October 6, 2023, Drake drops his new album For All the Dogs, and on track 6, First Person Shooter with J. Cole, there are some questionable lines about Kendrick Lamar.
Love when they argue the hardest MC. Is Is it K. Dot? Is it Aubrey or me? We the big three like we started a league.
Ironically, later on, Kendrick Lamar reveals that J. Cole had reached out on behalf of Drake for him to get on the first-person shooter track, but Kendrick denied the request. Then just a month later, on November 17, 2023, Drake drops the Scary Hours edition of his For All the Dogs album. On the first track, Red Button, it seems like he is warning the industry of exposing it, and people speculated on what artist this was aimed towards, with Kendrick being included.
If I press this red button, dog, everybody heaven gated. Press this red button, dog, and everything forever changes.
Then in 2024 is when Drake and Kendrick Lamar would finally stop with all the subliminals throughout the years and directly go at each other, and Kendrick Lamar would be the first one to take that step. On March 22nd, 2024, Future and Metro Boomin released their joint album We Don't Trust You, and on the title track, Future sends shots at Drake, and on track 6, Like That, Kendrick Lamar goes at J. Cole and Drake, directly responding to their first-person shooter track.
Number one fan, dog. Sneak this and I don't understand, dog.
The big three. It's just big me. Boom.
This Kendrick Lamar verse sent shockwaves throughout all of hip-hop. Everyone knew finally the Drake versus Kendrick battle would happen after all the years of subliminals. Drake at this time was on tour with J. Cole, but that didn't stop him from responding on stage. Just 3 days later, on March 25th, he addressed Kendrick's verse subliminally, of course.
A lot of people ask me how I'm feeling. I'm gonna let you know how I'm feeling, and listen, the way I'm feeling is the same way I want you to walk out of here feeling tonight about your self. Cause you know how I'm feeling? I got my head up high, my back straight, I'm 10 toes down in Florida or anywhere else I go, and I know that no matter what, it's not a nigga on this earth that can ever f me in my life. And that's how I want you to walk out of here tonight.
After that, Drake would just post things on social media subliminally responding to Kendrick, and the hip-hop world was growing impatient. They were calling out Drake for taking too long to respond. The reason he caught this flack was because when Drake beefed with Meek Mill, Drake constantly criticized Meek for taking too long to respond. Now Drake was doing the same thing here. Just like Meek was on tour during the beef, Drake was too. Then, out of nowhere on April 5th, 2024, J. Cole drops a new mixtape titled Might Delete Later, and on track 12, 7-minute drill, he goes at Kendrick Lamar directly.
And he averaging one hard burst like every 30 months or something. If he wasn't dissing, then we wouldn't be discussing. 4 albums in 12 years. I can divide shit. If this is what you want, I'm indulging in violence.
When J. Cole's diss came out, it just added more bashing on Drake's end because of how long it was taking for him to respond. Fans were left wondering, would it be multiple artists going at each other or just Kendrick and Drake? And we got that answer. Following that release, just 2 days later on April 7, 2024, J. Cole decides to apologize for dissing Kendrick Lamar at his Dreamville festival.
I moved in a way that I feel spiritually feel bad on me. Like I try to jab my nigga back and I try to keep it friendly, but at the end of the day, when I listen to it and when it comes out and I see the talk, that shit don't sit right with my spirit. That shit make me feel, that shit disrupts my fucking peace. So what I want to say right here tonight is in the midst of me doing that and in that shit, trying to find a little angle and downplay this nigga's fucking catalog and his greatness, I want to say right now tonight, how many people think Kendrick Lamar is one of the greatest motherfuckers to ever touch a fucking microphone? Dreamville, y'all love Kendrick Lamar, correct? As do I. So I just want to come up here and be like, publicly be like, bruh, that was the lamest, goofiest shit. And I say all that to say, it made me feel like 10 years ago when I was moving incorrectly. And I pray that God aligned me back up on my purpose and on my path. You know what I mean? I pray that my nigga really didn't feel no way. And if he did, my nigga, I got my chin out. Take your best shot, I'm gonna take that shit on the chin, boy. Do what you do. You know what I mean? All good. It's love.
Then just a few days later on April 12th, J. Cole removes the 7-minute drill diss track off all streaming services. On that same day, Future and Metro Boomin dropped their second collab album, We Still Don't Trust You. And the project has disses towards Drake on track 8, All To Myself with The Weeknd, and the bonus track 6, Show of Hands with A$AP Rocky.
and they feelings over women. What you heard of, son? I smashed before you birth, son. Flacco hit it first, son.
And it was a smart move on Drake's end to wait to release a diss track because everyone knew Future and Metro were dropping a second album. So it wouldn't have made much sense for him to release a diss before that album because there could have been more disses to Drake on that project, and there was. After that project released just one day later on April 13, 2024, there is a leaked rumored Drake diss titled Drop and Give Me 50 posted online. Due to the constant fake AI tracks being made, people didn't believe it was real. This version of the diss had a sample in it from Get Money by Junior Mafia. The beat was slightly different and it had a few more bars in it that were altered on the final version.
All of y'all falling like some dominoes. Bros turning hoes, dog, like I ain't got enough of those. I can't wait to see how far you get to reaching now. This the closest thing you getting to a feature now. Backpedal gang, cause a few of y'all been reaching out. Y'all drew the line, what the f we gotta speak about? Get your head tap, you niggas get to peeking out. You had a song for 4 years, drop that shit or shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. It's me twice in my big three, I had to leave you out.
Then on the following day on April 14th, another version of Drake's Push-Ups track comes out, this time with Drake rapping with a lot more energy and new production, as well as lines and verses being censored and changed, plus a preview of a new track at the end. But people were still speculating whether this was a real track or not. The following day on April 15th, Drake posts Nick Cannon playing the drums from the movie Drumline on his Instagram story. This was taken as confirmation that the leaked Push-Ups track was in fact real because of the Metro Boomin line telling him to shut up and play drums. Then a few days later on April 19th, Drake officially drops the Push-Ups diss track on streaming platforms to confirm that it's real. The artwork features a shoebox size chart implying that Kendrick Lamar has small feet. In the Instagram post, Drake says, "All platforms like the shoes you need, let's get it, bro."
Pip squeak, pipe down, you ain't in no big three. Scissor got you wiped down.
This song ended up peaking at number 17 on the Billboard Hot 100. On the same day that night on Drake's Instagram page, he drops another diss track titled Tailor-Made Freestyle. This track shocked people because it in fact featured AI verses written by Drake sounding like Tupac and Snoop Dogg. In the caption of the Instagram post, Drake said, "While we wait on you, I guess," further applying pressure for Kendrick Lamar to respond.
Kendrick, we need ya, the West Coast savior. This Canadian light-skinned doc, we need to know the baby West Coast victory, man.
You gotta show this out who's boss on the West. Trying to let this shit die down, nah, not this time. You following through. I guess you need another week to figure out how to improve. What the f is taking so long? We waiting on you.
And the reason why Drake is applying pressure for Kendrick to respond so fast is because Drake said on the original version of Push-Ups that Kendrick Lamar had a diss track ready for Drake for over 4 years now. In Drake's eyes, he thinks Kendrick Lamar has his plans ready to go, so he keeps applying pressure for Kendrick to respond. Then the Tailor-Made Freestyle track backfires for Drake because on April 24th, Tupac's estate threatens to sue Drake for the AI Tupac verse. And Tupac's estate released a statement saying this: "Not only is the record a flagrant violation of Tupac's publicity and the estate's legal rights, it is also a blatant abuse of the legacy of one of the greatest hip-hop artists of all time. The estate would never have given its approval for this use." And just a day later, Drake removed the Tailor-Made Freestyle from all of his platforms. Following this, on the morning of April 30th, Kendrick Lamar responds to Drake's diss with a new track titled Euphoria. And this song was immediately posted by Kendrick on all streaming platforms and his official social media pages, so no one could question whether it was a real track or not. The track is over 6 minutes long with 3 different beat changes.
You're cold and I know I'm a selfish. Crown is heavy. I pray they my real friends. If not, I'm YNW Melly.
This song from Kendrick ended up peaking at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. Daylight, who is close to Kendrick Lamar's team, revealed that he heard a 19-minute version of Euphoria as well. Drake responded to Kendrick Lamar's diss on his Instagram stories by posting a 10 Things I Hate About You clip, which references Kendrick's lines talking about all the things he hates about Drake. After this, the world had no idea what May 3rd, 2024 would be for hip-hop. hip-hop. That day caused so much chaos that it will be forever cemented in hip-hop history as one of the greatest days in the culture. With the ball being in Drake's court, people were waiting for a response from Drake, but before he could respond, Kendrick Lamar matched Drake's second diss track, and on May 3rd, 2024, he dropped another diss track in the morning titled 616 in LA on his Instagram page, featuring an artwork of a Maybach glove. The title of the song is a play on Drake's timestamp songs he has released throughout his career. In the song, he implies that Drake has people in his own crew of OVO that are praying for his downfall and feeding Kendrick Lamar insider information.
Are you finally ready to play? Have you ever, let's see, have you ever thought that OVO is working for me?
Drake responded to this Kendrick Lamar diss by going on his Instagram stories and posting a photo of a cartoon character staring at pushing a red button. Drake had been talking about pushing the red button to destroy the whole music industry for a while now, and it seemed like he was ready to push it, and he did just that. The following night on May 3rd, Drake drops a 7-minute diss track titled Family Matters with 3 beat changes and a music video accompanying the diss track. In the track, Drake not only responds to Kendrick, but also Rick Ross, The Weeknd, Metro Boomin, A$AP Rocky, Future, and Kanye West. The main target, however, was Kendrick Lamar, and Drake on the track implies that Kendrick isn't the biological father of one of his kids, and that his manager Dave Free is. He also accuses Kendrick of abusing his wife and cheating on her. The music video starts with a van that resembles the same van from Kendrick's Good Kid, Mad City album cover, and it's being towed, then it gets crushed. Towards the third part of the verse, it shows Drake at New Ho King, a restaurant that Kendrick Lamar mentioned he goes to on Euphoria. He also shows the Tupac ring that Kendrick mentioned on Euphoria, then shows cakes that say happy divorce and happy co-parenting, poking fun at Kendrick cheating on Whitney and Dave Free potentially being the father of one of his kids. Then at the end, it shows Drake holding up a ring, and here he is implying this is the same ring that Kendrick bought for his girl Whitney.
When you put your hands on your girl, is it self-defense cause she bigger than you? Your back is up against the curb.
Family Matters from Drake ended up peaking at number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100. At the same time of releasing Family Matters, Drake also dropped another diss directly on his Instagram page. On his Instagram page, he posted the artwork for his Family Matters diss track, but the audio on the post is a parody version of Kendrick Lamar's Buried Alive interlude on Drake's Take Care album. On Drake's version, he mocks the cadence, flow, and tone of Kendrick and reminds him he was the one that helped his career in the early days, including A$AP Rocky. In the Instagram caption, he says, "Family Matters out now. Stop trying to piece together what I know and go pick up the pieces of your broken home."
You always said how you wanna bury me alive. Jealousy disguised as your mother pride. Took you on your first tour with us trying to catch a vibe. That's how you felt in 2011 while we wasting time. Dreams come true, Crody, this is where you die.
After releasing Family Matters, it seemed like Drake hit the red button and got his victory lap in, but just 40 minutes later, Kendrick Lamar drops another diss track titled Meet the Grams, which shocked everyone. The dark track addresses everyone in Drake's family, with first Drake's son Adonis, then Drake's parents Sandra and Dennis, then mysteriously an alleged daughter Drake had been hiding from the world. Then Kendrick decides to teach Drake how to be a better person instead of just being a soulless celebrity. Artwork on Meet the Grams features a zoomed out photo from the 616 in LA track that Kendrick released earlier. Among these items are Ozempic Zolpidem pills, as well as receipts of outrageous jewelry purchases. These items are resting on a multicolored button-up t-shirt depicting a cartoon dog urinating on a red fire hydrant. And that t-shirt is just Kendrick Lamar making fun of the time that T.I. revealed that one of his friends peed on Drake. The artwork for Meet the Grams was removed when Kendrick Lamar added that song to streaming services due to HIPAA privacy laws that protect people's medical records.
Supposed to be a good exhibition within the game, but you f***ed up the moment you called out my family's name.
This song peaked at number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100. Drake immediately responded to this diss track on his Instagram stories with a bunch of laughing emojis saying, "Nah, hold on. Can someone find my hidden daughter, please, and send her to me? These guys are in shambles." The following day on May 4th, Kendrick Lamar continues his onslaught and drops another diss track titled Not Like Us, a more upbeat track with a catchy hook. The artwork shows Drake's house from Google Maps with registered sex offender markings on the house. The track doubles down on Drake and his OVO crew being into minors. He also accuses Drake of exploiting black artists in hip-hop, mainly ones from Atlanta.
Hey Drake, I hear you like I'm young. You better not ever go to Cell Block 1.
This song debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, which marked the first time a diss track hit number 1. Following this, the next day on May 5th, Drake responds to Kendrick Lamar's disses with a new diss track titled The Heart Part 6, doing the same thing Kendrick did by taking a series of song titles Kendrick uses. In this song, Drake exposes that Kendrick Lamar was fed false information and got tricked into it. He also denies ever being into minors, and then ends the track saying he's no longer interested in battling with Kendrick because none of what Kendrick says is the truth.
Just for clarity, I feel disgusted. I'm too respected. If I was young girls, I promise I'd have been arrested.
Then just 2 days later on May 7th, 2024, Drake's home gets shot and his security guard gets severely injured. The article says this: Toronto police have said a security guard was shot overnight outside the home of Canadian rapper Drake. Police said suspects in a vehicle shot the guard at the corner of Park Lane Circle Mansion around 2 at night on Tuesday before fleeing the scene. It remains unclear if Drake was at the home when the incident occurred or whether he was a target of the shooting. The victim is in the hospital and is in serious condition. Witnesses told Canadian media he had sustained several gunshot wounds, including one to the chest. After this, for 2 days in a row, Drake's home was trespassed into. Toronto police officers reported back to Drake's home Thursday afternoon after receiving a call about a trespasser at the Bridle Path property. Before police arrived at the scene, the alleged trespasser was taken to the hospital after an altercation with security guards on the property. Thursday marked the third consecutive day Toronto police responded to Drake's home this week. After all this, it would seem like the battle went from just diss tracks to actual people getting hurt. So people were left wondering, is this battle over or will Kendrick Lamar release a response? Well, we got the answer to that question days later on May 10th when TDE's Top Dog officially confirmed the battle was over. He said this on X: "This battle is over. A win for the culture while keeping it all on wax, especially when these publications try to make it something else. We proved them wrong. That's a victory within itself." Following that, just 2 days later on May 12th, Drake himself confirmed the battle was over with an Instagram story post saying, "Good times, summer vibes up next." Despite both sides saying the battle was over, we all know that it wasn't. The two might have been done sending disses to each other directly, but the subliminals continued as anticipated. The battle did die down for a little, but a month later on June 5th, 2024, Kendrick Lamar announces one show in Inglewood, California called The Pop-Out Ken and Friends. This was perceived as Kendrick Lamar's nail in the coffin for the Drake beef and his victory lap show. The 16,000 tickets sold out immediately. Then a few weeks later on June 19th, Kendrick Lamar hosts the concert and a huge list of celebrities show up at the show. Some notable ones were The Weeknd, LeBron James, Rick Ross, DeMar DeRozan, and more. These essentially were people who didn't like Drake and some who used to be friends with him and now switched sides. As for performers, they were mainly West Coast artists like YG, Roddy Ricch, Tyler the Creator, and lots of new upcoming West Coast artists as well. Kendrick Lamar performed as the final act, and he performed most of the diss tracks towards Drake live for the first time. He started the show with Euphoria and changed the lyrics live on one line and said, "Give me Tupac's ring back and I might give you a little respect," which was changed from, "Matter of fact, I ain't even bleed him yet, can I bleed him?"
When they call you the boy, where's the man? I ain't seen him yet. Give me Tupac, ring back, and I might give you a little respect. Remember, hey, Top Dog.
He then later performed 616 in LA and then performed his Like That verse. After that, Dr. Dre surprised the crowd and performed his hits, but after Dre was done, he then introduced Not Like Us, and Kendrick Lamar then went on to perform the track 5 times in a row, with the 4th and 5th time being accompanied by essentially everyone in the West Coast besides The Game and Snoop Dogg. Following this victory lap, Drake didn't respond to it at all. Then a few weeks later, and on America's Independence Day on July 4th, Kendrick Lamar drops the music video for Not Like Us, which was shot in Compton and some parts of Los Angeles. Kendrick, with this video, essentially returned the favor from Drake releasing the Family Matters video. From here, nothing between the two was said. Fans online started to notice a page on Instagram called Plot Twist that Drake was following, and eventually fans found out it was Drake's hidden second account on Instagram. With that name on the account, people speculated that maybe Drake was getting ready to release more information or proof of all the things he accused Kendrick Lamar of. The page was first private, but then as fans found out about the page, Drake then confirmed it was him by essentially posting songs on the page and then sharing it to his main Instagram page. Then out of nowhere on August 6, 2024, Drake drops a website titled 100 Gigs, and on the site it featured a bunch of random footage of behind the scenes moments of Drake performing, recording in the studio, and much more. He accompanied that release with 3 new tracks. Those 3 tracks featured no subliminals towards Kendrick. Fans went through all the files and found footage of Drake wanting to collab with Kendrick during the Nothing Was the Same album production, which I mentioned earlier in this video. Following that, a few weeks later on August 23rd, Drake drops 3 more tracks, and this time one of the tracks is titled No Face, where he addresses everything he went through this year with artists wanting to see his downfall. He even records a short music video for it.
How you get let off that you hating on numbers untouchable, they got the data wrong, this is the moment I know they've been praying on.
After that track, people speculated that Drake probably wants to start the beef back up again because 2 days later on August 25th, he posted an old clip of NBA player Rasheed Wallace talking about winning Game 2. People speculated that Drake was referring to his beef with Kendrick Lamar and that he is ready to go another round with him. After Drake talked about round 2s on his Instagram, Kendrick Lamar doubled back on Drake's first-person shooter track talking about being as big as a Super Bowl, because a few weeks later on September 7th, he announces that he's performing at the NFL Super Bowl halftime show. And in the promo video, he responds to Drake and says, "There is no round 2s.
You know it's only one opportunity to win a championship. No round 2s. Let's get it."
After this announcement of Kendrick Lamar performing at the Super Bowl halftime show, there was an outrage as people felt like Lil Wayne should have gotten that performance because the show was happening in his hometown of New Orleans. A few days later, on September 11th, Kendrick Lamar drops a surprise track on Instagram titled Watch the Party Die, right before MTV's Video Music Awards. The track essentially represents Kendrick Lamar's frustration of what the music industry stands for in today's time, with artists such as Drake being in the forefront.
Just walk that man down, that'll do everyone a solid. It's love, but tough love sometimes gotta result in violence.
Following this, things died down again with neither side saying anything. Then a few months later, on November 22nd, 2024, Kendrick Lamar drops a surprise album titled GNX. And on track 1, Whacked Out Murals, he addresses the backlash from the Super Bowl announcement and addresses the Drake beef, saying he'll never squash it due to how bad things could have gotten by Drake allegedly offering money to get at Kendrick and his family.
My city couldn't entertain no boy. Promising bank transactions and even Bitcoin. If that money got in the hands of a crash dummy, could jeopardize my family and burden the ones who love me.
2 days later, on November 24th, Drake pops up on XQC's stream and responds to Kendrick Lamar by saying he needs facts to take him out.
I'm here, as you can see, fully intact, mind, body, and soul, in case you were wondering. Right?
Mind, body, and soul.
Mind, body, and soul. You need facts to take me out. Fairy tales won't do it. Cheers to everybody.
Always live by.
After this, the next 2 days would be a bombshell from Drake. On November 25th, it was announced that Drake and his lawyers filed a legal petition against his own record label, Universal Music Group. This legal petition accuses Universal of using bots to boost Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us track. Then the following day, on November 26th, another legal petition was filed, and this time Drake accuses Universal Music Group of defamation for promoting Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, despite knowing it had false allegations in it. These accusations, of course, had everyone questioning why Drake did what he did, but these weren't official lawsuits just yet. And Universal Music Group responded, saying, "The suggestion that UMG would do anything to undermine any of its artists is offensive and untrue. We employ the highest ethical practices in our marketing and promotional campaigns. No amount of contrived and absurd legal arguments in this pre-action submission can mask the fact that fans chose the music they want to hear." Then we enter 2025 and things haven't died down at all. To start the new year on January 3rd, producer Conductor dropped a new Drake freestyle called Fighting Irish. And in this freestyle, it seems like Drake is going at LeBron James, who he considered a close friend, for betraying him and supporting Kendrick Lamar. He also sends subliminals at Kendrick Lamar towards the last verse.
Pull the rabbit out the hat and y'all love a magician. It's funny to see you all rejoicing and hugging and kissing.
A few weeks later, on January 15th, Drake officially files the lawsuit against his label Universal Music Group. People speculated with this being so close to Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance, the lawsuit was filed in order to stop Kendrick Lamar from performing Not Like Us at the halftime show. And of course, Universal Music Group responded, saying not only are these claims untrue, but the notion that we would seek to harm the reputation of any artist, let alone Drake, is illogical. We have invested massively in his music, and our employees around the world have worked tirelessly for many years to help him achieve historic commercial and personal financial success. Throughout his career, Drake has intentionally and successfully used UMG to distribute his music and poetry to engage in conventionally outrageous back and forth rap battles to express his feelings for other artists. He now seeks to weaponize the legal process to silence an artist's creative expression and to seek damages from UMG for distributing that artist's music. We have not and do not engage in defamation against any individual. At the same time, we will vigorously defend this litigation to protect our people and our reputation, as well as any artist who might directly or indirectly become a frivolous litigation target for having done nothing more than write a song. Fast forward to February 2nd, 2025, and the 67th Annual Grammy Awards has begun. Kendrick Lamar has been nominated 7 times. That night, Kendrick takes home 5 Grammys, all for his diss track, Not Like Us. The song wins in the category of Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Rap Performance, Best Rap Song, and Best Music Video, which gives a whole new meaning to Drake saying,
Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now.
Following this, the next day, Drake is out in Australia for his Anita Max Win Tour, and he comes out with his song Over My Dead Body playing in the background with a hoodie riddled with bullets that has smoke coming out of it. This response is Drake saying everyone in the music industry tried their best to shoot at me, but I'm still here alive and thriving. He also wears a Tony Montana inspired jacket, and if you don't know Tony Montana from Scarface, all you need to know is this quote.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers. I say that's the bad guy.
Following this, on February 6th, Kendrick Lamar sat down for an interview with Apple Music before the Super Bowl show. He discusses his battle with Drake and how he wanted to bring the grit back to hip-hop.
I wanted to go back to the forefront of just the bite and just the grit of rap. Just all raps and hard-ass beats. And that's like the basics for me. I thought about, damn, what I used to like when I was a kid. Hard raps, good beats. That's smacking, right?
Following this, on February 9th comes the Super Bowl halftime performance from Kendrick Lamar. Many were wondering if Kendrick would go as far as to perform Not Like Us on the biggest stage in America. He did just that and did it with many messages in between. Starting out the show, he continued the preview of an unreleased track that was used to promote his album GNX. This version during the Super Bowl show has more lines rapped from the verse. Towards the end, he says, some people perceive this as shots towards Drake because Kendrick Lamar is now claiming the top spot. He might even be talking about a conversation he and J. Cole possibly had about who's the best out of the 3 of them. After that, he performed some of Euphoria while staring at the camera like a menace. Then Kendrick Lamar teases performing Not Like Us, but then says he would love to perform it, but they love to sue, taking shots at Drake for the UMG lawsuit. Then, after performing a few more songs, Kendrick Lamar adds a quick few new bars dissing Drake before actually performing Not Like Us, and he doesn't censor mentioning Drake's name at all. He then ends his performance with the TV off track and with a menacing smile declares it's game over for Drake. The following day on February 10th, Drake responds to Kendrick's Super Bowl show during his tour. He changes the lyrics to his song Knife Talk from Beef is Live, spoiler alert, this guy dies, to Beef is Live, spoiler alert, I never died. The Super Bowl halftime performance skyrocketed Kendrick's music with Not Like Us going back to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, as well as having 4 other tracks in the top 10. Kendrick also broke a record and became the first male solo artist to ever chart 3 albums at the same time in the top 10 on Billboard, with Good Kid Mad City at 10, Damn at 9, and GNX at 1. Drake then started his promo for his collab album with his artist Party Next Door titled Some Sexy Songs for You, and they released the project on February 14th. On track 10, Gimme a Hug, Drake addresses being the king of hip-hop despite the recent beef with Kendrick.
Cause if I die, it's these that become the sole beneficiary. And what the f are they gonna do with it? Had the girls up at 29 on stage twerking with a dictionary.
Then the following week, on February 21st, Drake and Party Next Door's collab album debuts at #1 with over 248,000 copies sold the first week. And this marked Drake's 14th #1 album, tying him with Jay-Z and Taylor Swift for having the most #1 albums as a solo artist. And it's an incredible record to have, and mind you, Drake is the newest artist out of those 3. Kendrick Lamar, on the other hand, is on a hot streak as well, as he knocked himself out of the #1 spot on the Hot 100 by replacing Not Like Us with his other track, Luther. And funny enough, after Drake and Party Next Door's album went #1, it replaced Kendrick Lamar's GNX from the #1 spot on the Billboard 200. And this marked the first time ever that Kendrick and Drake swapped for the #1 spot, and that to me is poetic justice. These two artists have been going at it subliminally for years about being the king of hip-hop, and now they are actually competing on the charts. No more gimmicks about who is being accused of what. Now it's all about the music and who can sustain dominating this next decade, and right now it seems the two are off to a great start. Fast forward to March 14th and Playboi Carti drops his new album I Am Music, and to people's surprise, Kendrick Lamar is featured on 3 tracks. On track 15, Good Credit, it seems like Kendrick is doubling down on being the king of hip-hop and responds to Drake's UMG lawsuits.
Conspiracy theories is given, but I must admit it, you got the wrong person.
The interesting thing about this Kendrick Lamar and Playboi Carti collab is that Drake was rumored to have a collab with Playboi Carti on the album, but it got removed due to Kendrick Lamar being on the album. Back when Drake dropped his 100 Gigs website, he released No Face, and on the original version on the website, it actually features Playboi Carti on the hook. But when the song was put on streaming platforms, Playboi Carti was no longer on the track. To me, that signals Playboi Carti wanted nothing to do with Drake anymore and didn't clear his vocals to be used. At the time, I was confused as to why he wouldn't let Drake use his vocals, but fast forward to now, and with Kendrick Lamar working with Playboi Carti on his new album, it all makes sense. And that's where things end as of the making of this documentary. I'm sure as the months and years go on, these two will continue sending subliminals, and who knows, they may even go at it directly again, or even possibly squash the beef like Jay-Z and Nas eventually did, but only time will tell. Now let's get into who I think won the battle portion of the beef. In the midst of the battle, when it was happening in real time, who won? For me, it's clear as day, and I think anyone who isn't biased will say Kendrick Lamar won the battle. Now you ask me, Quake, why did Kendrick win the battle? Well, it's as simple as this. Take out all the stupid accusations, of which neither side has proven with solid evidence. Kendrick hasn't proven Drake has been involved with minors, and Drake hasn't proven Kendrick actually abused his wife. Put all that gossipy stuff to the side, and let's talk about the music first. Kendrick Lamar dropped Like That, Euphoria, 616 in LA, Meet the Grams, and Not Like Us. Drake dropped Push-Ups, Tailor-Made Freestyle, Family Matters, Buried Alive Part 2, and The Heart Part 6. Out of all these diss tracks, to be 100% honest, the last third of Drake's Family Matters is the best diss track to be released in this battle. But since it's only 1/3 of the whole track, it's not the best diss track in total. Had Drake just kept the last third and continued with that beat, flow, delivery, and very, very dope bars, he would have had the best diss track. But Kendrick Lamar wins with Not Like Us because it's catchy, it's funny, it's scathing, it's serious, it's everything you could want from a diss track. Now here's why Kendrick Lamar won the battle. The first point is when Drake was beefing with Meek Mill, he surprised hip-hop fans. Remember, before the Meek Mill beef, Drake wasn't viewed as an aggressive artist. He was viewed as a nice guy who sings and raps. So what Drake did was become the aggressor in this battle by not only dropping one diss track, but coming with another diss immediately after, which was a huge surprise. On top of that, Drake's plan was to make a hit diss song, something that is played everywhere Meek Mill would go. He even said it in his 2019 Rap Radar interview, and funny enough, the person who gave him that idea is Serena Williams, who is now crip walking on the Super Bowl stage to a hit Drake diss song.
I was with Serena at the time, and she had made this comment to me, and she was like, "Well, look, if you're gonna go again, you know, she's like, that beat that's on in there, it's just that," she's like, "You gotta finish it." She's a top competitor. Right. So she was like, "You gotta finish it." Like, I'm talking about done, over. And it's gotta be something that everyone that he's with and him have to hear.
Can't ignore it.
Right. Yeah. You can't do some shit that's just for the moment and then it goes away. Yeah. She kind of put this battery in my back, funny enough.
On top of that, the back-to-back artwork even had a deeper meaning to it. With Meek Mill being from Philly, the artwork showed Joe Carter of the Toronto Blue Jays hitting a bottom of the 9th home run to beat the Philadelphia Phillies in Game 6 of the 1993 MLB World Series. In doing so, the Toronto Blue Jays won back-to-back MLB championships. So Drake was very calculated with this diss and made sure it was a hit. Plus, when Drake destroyed Meek Mill with back-to-back, everyone on social media was joining in on the fun, clowning Meek Mill. Even major corporations were getting in on the fun. It was a Meek Mill funeral for everyone to laugh at, which was a clear indicator that Drake won. So what did Kendrick Lamar do? He did the exact same thing that Drake did to Meek Mill. When this battle started, people weren't expecting Kendrick Lamar to be the one to come out with a hit diss track. People were waiting for Drake to do that because that's what Drake's known for, the hit pop records. When people think of Kendrick Lamar, they don't think of hit pop records. They think of lyrical, conscious storytelling. Kendrick Lamar surprised the hip-hop fans by dropping Meet the Grams 40 minutes after Drake dropped his own diss, Family Matters. This had the whole internet shocked. That surprise factor is what can make or break who wins a rap battle. And if you want more proof of that, look back at the 2018 battle with Drake and Pusha T and tell me that surprising the audience doesn't sway people's opinions. Kendrick Lamar strategically calculated Drake's moves and flipped them against him. Not Like Us became that record that Drake and his team couldn't escape. Even towards the end of The Heart Part 6, Drake admits the song is a hit, but he didn't like it because it had a bunch of false accusations in it.
Go and drop the West Coast one and try and cover that up. I would like that one. That would be some shit I could dance to if he wasn't tripling down on some whole other bullshit. But
the second thing that caused Drake to lose the battle is him not being directly focused on Kendrick. I give Drake props for swinging at everyone, and that's why I like Push-Ups, but after that song he should have solely focused on Kendrick Lamar. That's the heavyweight. That's the guy that can do damage. That's why Family Matters didn't hit like it was supposed to. Like I said earlier, had that song been the last third part, Drake would have had the best diss track overall and possibly won this battle. To me, it seemed like he didn't take Kendrick Lamar that seriously. It was just a game to Drake and he got cocky. And being that overconfident backfired big time. The third thing that caused Drake to lose this battle was the social media antics. Instead of letting the music do the talking like Kendrick Lamar, Drake decided to throw a bunch of subliminals. He even had people guessing if Push-Ups was a real diss track or not, and clowned Kendrick for not responding fast enough. That all backfired for him when Drake dropped Push-Ups. He kept pressuring Kendrick to release his diss track. Even with the tailor-made freestyle, he pressured him even further. Then in a funny turn of events, when Kendrick Lamar whopped him left and right with diss tracks, Drake then gets upset at Kendrick for continually dropping diss tracks.
A few moments later.
definitely got this shit burnt the fuck out though. Like, you got 10 more records to drop.
I mean, what do you mean you got 10 more records to drop? Isn't this what you wanted, Drake? And those three main points to me is why Drake lost this battle and Kendrick won. Kendrick just out-Draked Drake and let the music do the talking. Now I want to talk about who, in my opinion, will win the war. The war portion is long after the battle. When the years go on, who will still be on top, dominating and giving the culture moments. I don't think this needs to be said, but I know people are going to comment this, so I want to make this clear. If either side proves with hard evidence that their accusations are indeed real, then obviously the other person loses. If Drake proves with hard evidence that Kendrick Lamar indeed puts his hands on women, then to me, Kendrick lost, and I won't ever listen to him again. And the same thing applies to Drake. If Kendrick Lamar proves Drake did things with underage women, then I would never listen to him again. Anyone with common sense should feel this way despite who you're a fan of. So now that I got that obvious victory out the way, let's talk about how each side could win the war. Then I'll say who I predict will win the war. For Kendrick Lamar to win the war, he needs to be active as an artist and deliver music consistently. Kendrick Lamar can't claim being the king of hip-hop or the GOAT, then disappear for 5 years in between projects. That's not what GOATs do. The greatest of all time consistently show up and deliver. Taking a 5-year hiatus is insane. To put it in perspective, Eminem, who was dealing with a drug problem and nearly died from overdosing, didn't take that long of a break from music. He was gone only 4 years, and in between that, Eminem dropped a compilation album called The Re-Up. I understand that Kendrick Lamar from 2018 to 2022 was going through some mental health issues and even had writer's block at some point. But in order to be the best in something, those things can't be used as excuses. To be the best, regardless of what happens, you need to deliver. A great example is Kanye West. When he lost his mother in late 2007, Kanye could have had every excuse to disappear for years. He even was doing interviews talking about how depressed and sad he was, but instead he delivered 808s and Heartbreak and forever changed the sound of hip-hop. That's what GOATs do. They show up when things are at their worst. With that being said, Kendrick Lamar for this decade is off to a great start. He dropped Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers in 2022, and it did pretty good, but in 2024, he really dominated and also dropped another album, GNX. He's also giving us great moments with people yelling out mustard, A minor, and saying boom, bop, bam on every TikTok. That's how you maintain being the king of hip hop. Being present in people's lives as often as possible. Kendrick for this decade has to not go missing for longer than 2 years. If he takes a break longer than 2 years, then someone else will take the throne. I don't think people understand how hard it is to be consistent as Drake has been. If we want to give Kendrick Lamar the king of hip hop title, he needs to show improve day in and day out. The other thing that Kendrick Lamar needs to do is become a bigger artist, and it's already happening. He just now needs to maintain this momentum and grow. He's already breaking records because of the Drake beef. He's already got 4 new #1 songs on the Hot 100, so he's off to a great start, but he needs to grow. I need to see consistent #1s. I need to see constant great sales. He can't fall off. It's that simple. If he does, then he didn't do what he set out to do, which is take Drake's spot. And that's how, to me, Kendrick Lamar can win the war portion. Now let's talk about how Drake can win the war portion, and this one is a little more complicated. Drake dominated the last decade. That's why he won Billboard's Artist of the Decade award. We've never seen any artist, not just hip-hop, be this consistent musically. From 2010 to 2020, Drake dropped a project nearly every single year, which is unheard of. The only years he didn't release a single project is in 2012 and in 2014. And funny enough, in those 2 years he didn't release a project, he was featured on big songs, which still made you feel like Drake dropped something. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because Drake is off to a great start in dominating another decade of music. But the big hurdle he has to go over is fatigue. After all these years of dominating, Drake is already facing fatigue from listeners. Even with myself, I said it back when he released Certified Lover Boy in 2021 that Drake should take a hiatus from music. And Drake even mentioned taking a hiatus from music after releasing For All the Dogs, but then the beef happened with Kendrick, which got Drake back in the studio. You can tell there's fatigue with Drake because look at the first week sales of For All the Dogs. It sold 402,000 copies, which is great numbers, but when you look at what Drake does normally in sales, he's usually at around 600,000 or above when it comes to albums. And that's not including Honestly Nevermind, which was a random release and a different sound from Drake that many people didn't like. So to me, Drake is in a worse position musically than Kendrick. There is no Kendrick fatigue. In fact, people are hungry to hear and see him more, and that's the opposite for Drake. But if Drake can maintain his consistency and give us great moments as he's always done, then he might dominate another decade of music. He's already giving us more moments with the Nakia track off the collab album with Party Next Door, so I'm sure Drake is fine musically for now. How Drake can really win the war and forever cement himself as the greatest artist period of all time is by winning this UMG lawsuit. Yes, this lawsuit is major for Drake's career and for the music industry as a whole, and here's why. Michael Jackson and Prince comparisons were a huge part in this Drake versus Kendrick Lamar battle. Ironically, Michael Jackson and Prince both had issues with their own record labels. Both Michael and Prince accused their own record labels of sabotaging their careers. Michael Jackson's problem with his record label Sony was that they were deliberately sabotaging his career by not promoting his album. This made Michael's album Invincible at the time sell a lot less than his previous albums, thus devaluing Michael's worth, which made it harder for him to negotiate a new contract with a record label when it was time. On top of that, Michael said Sony was a racist company against black artists and that they were not being compensated fairly for their music. Prince accused his label Warner Brothers of not giving proper royalties and ownership to his own music and deliberately skewing numbers so Prince got paid less. With Drake, it's essentially the same thing. Drake's lawsuit against Universal, in simple terms, accuses Universal of promoting Kendrick's Not Like Us to deliberately devalue Drake's worth. Drake signed a $400 million deal with UMG in 2022 that is set to expire in 2025. Drake claims his renegotiation with Universal would have gotten him more money, maybe around $600 million. And Drake says Universal didn't like that, so they put lots of money behind Kendrick's Not Like Us to hopefully devalue Drake's career, which would mean when it came time to renegotiate the contract, Universal would end up paying less for Drake. These are all accusations by Drake and nothing has been fully proven yet. But if Drake wins this lawsuit and proves Universal has been manipulating streaming numbers and not properly properly paying artists, this would forever change the landscape of record labels and streaming services. I always said if Drake, who is the biggest artist out right now, decided to go independent and still dominated, that would make other artists think about their deals and leave their own major labels, which would essentially cut out the middleman. Less people would have a hand in taking artists' money from their pocket, which would then in turn help all artists. If Drake pulls that off, then he would be accomplishing something Michael Jackson and Prince failed to do, and they only failed because back then record labels had a lot of control. In today's time, thanks to technology and social media, the power is more in the artist's hands, which makes Drake's job a lot easier. Drake hinted at destroying Universal when he posted something on his Instagram stories on his second Instagram page, Plot Twist. He shared an image that said, if his 100 gigs is a huge success, our building will collapse and you will be crushed. This post to me says Drake did the 100 Gigs website to see what the numbers would look like when he releases songs on his own platform. With that data, he can see if he can go independent and not work with major labels again, which would be a huge game changer in the music industry. However, let's keep in mind this lawsuit Drake has against Universal could just be for Drake's own interest to line his pockets up better, and he could end up doing a settlement and re-signing with Universal again. If that happened, then yeah, Drake just cares about himself and none of what I said earlier matters. But if Drake wants to cement himself as arguably the best artist to ever exist, then him fighting with Universal and exposing their bad practices against artists would be something even I'm sure Kendrick Lamar could get behind. And what people need to remember is Kendrick possibly didn't even know this was happening behind the scenes. People tend to think that just because a record label does something with an artist's music, that the artist knows it's happening. And sometimes they have no clue. So that's why Drake's lawsuit is towards Universal and not at Kendrick. Universal owns certain rights to Drake and Kendrick's music, so they can do what they want with it. Even if they want to manipulate the artist's numbers by buying bots, then they can do that without either Drake or Kendrick knowing that it's happening. What's interesting is in a recent update of Drake's lawsuit against Universal, Drake and his lawyers removed iHeartMedia as a company that is complicit in Universal's manipulation. So that either means iHeartMedia paid Drake and basically admitted that yes, they manipulated Kendrick's numbers, or they are saying they want nothing to do with this and are essentially telling Drake and his lawyers insider information on Universal. If that's true, then Drake is just gathering more and more dirt on Universal and might actually do some damage. Ironically, as the agreement was made between Drake and iHeartMedia, the FCC began a payola investigation into iHeartMedia's festivals. The FCC is looking into whether iHeartMedia paid their performers less to get played on their radio stations more, or paid them more to perform but played their music less on radio stations, which is a form of payola. And if you don't know what payola is, it is bribing someone to use their influence to promote a particular product or interest, which is illegal in the music industry. With all this being said, if what comes out of this Drake versus Kendrick battle is exposing record labels for manipulating numbers and not properly paying artists what they're owed, then this battle would go down in history as the best thing to happen to the music industry for artists. If Drake manages to pull this lawsuit off, it will even the playing field for artists that never had a fair shot to begin with because of the manipulation. In order for Drake to win the war and for his legacy, he would have to just maintain his current pace of dominance just like he did the last decade and expose the music industry for their malpractices, which would put him in a legendary position as an artist in which no artist has ever managed to achieve. So who will win the war? My bet is with Drake. Betting against Drake when it comes to consistency in music would be a dumb thing to do. He's proven it through the last decade. The only thing that could possibly stop him from releasing music is record label problems, and even then he'd find a way to maneuver through that. Drake was in my life throughout the 2010s way more than Kendrick. When I wanted to listen to Kendrick, I had no new Kendrick, so I had to listen to other artists. I'm sure even Kendrick fans could admit to that. I can't see Kendrick being consistent. He might take another hiatus, and you can't be the king of hip-hop doing that. You need to give the audience moments year in and year out. Drake has done that and so far is continuing to do that. Plus, if Drake wins this Universal lawsuit, he puts himself in a category no major artist has ever done, and that's beat the machine that is these major record labels. Doing that will not only be a major win for Drake, but will also help so many artists and possibly clean up the snake-filled music industry. Or I could be wrong and Drake is only filing this lawsuit to further his pockets and only his interests. Regardless, the throne is only for one, and only time will tell who gets the crown. And that's it for this episode of Who Really Won, Drake versus Kendrick Lamar. Let me know who you think won the battle and who is going to win the war and why in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. That's it for today's video. If you guys want to support this channel further, you can do so at patreon.com/diverse mentality. For just $3 a month, you can get my videos uncut and raw the way I intended them to be, but couldn't because of YouTube. Plus, you also get access to our Discord community, where we have a great community talking about hip-hop and various other things. It's very dope. So only $3 a month. I'd really appreciate the support. Also follow us on social media at QuakeGW and at Diverse Mentality. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.